The name of all the real niggas.
I want you to speak up clear and loud.
Respectfully, the most honorable YB double M. Lotto.
Brown baby.
Gunshots in the dark at me. Discrimination cause my head nappy. Call me a thug cause I'm tatted up. Now your actions justify when them slugs clap me. I think it's a war on the black race. Why every criminal they show got a black face, and every hero they show gotta be pale? Is it me or y'all got the wrong niggas for crimes against humanity? Of course we out here acting up. They slaughtered our elders and told the babies they from Africa. We screaming Black Lives Matter, they do. Well nigga, Black Lives Matter to who? Cause they don't matter to you. You know the owner of that movement, a Jew, and Nick Cannon got canceled just for speaking the truth. True, y'all think money bring power, it don't. Unity bring power, then we take what they owe. Y'all think money bring power, it don't. Unity bring power, then we take what they owe.
Welcome to Geek News Network, where we got the best work. I'm your host, Fetty Lotto, here to put a stain on your brain and bring you some news you could use. This one right here, man, I think is a good topic. I think it's definitely some news we could use, man, all around the nation, shit all around the world at this point. Did the CIA start the Bloods and the Crips? And what type of role did they play in infiltrating these gangs and to keeping, certain wars going on for extensive amounts of time to keep us separated, because it's, how the divide and conquer game is. You know what I mean? So it's like they got to keep you separated so they can conquer you, because all of us on one page will take over everything. You know what I'm saying? And, I'm not promoting one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? I'm just raising a question on, did the CIA start this and what was their hand on it? I personally don't believe that, teenagers in the 1960s started something that still is strong and thriving and lives on to this day all around the world. I don't think it was started by two teenage boys or whatever, however amount of teenage boys did that back then. I just, it's hard for me to believe. But let's get into the content on the CIA and these gangs, man, the Bloods and the Crips.
Starting these gangs.
I think that their hand has always been there. It has never been out the game. They've always played their cards.
How you feel about Tookie, what they said about Tookie being that he's one of your comrades,
I believe that, I accept what he's saying. Being that I know him, he never denounced being a Crip, but what he did say is that there was a change that need to happen. We need to change the identity. That's why he wrote children's books, and he was writing books on, how to reinvent it. See, because you can go in the wrong direction for many years, but at some point you could turn around and go back the other way. No matter how far you go in the wrong direction, you can always go back the other way, in the right direction. So I think that they used him as a martyr. They took him out, because they wanted to make a demo. That's what they've been doing all the time. In 1969, J. Edgar Hoover came into power. He bought into COINTELPRO against the Black Panther Party. During that time, Bunchy Carter, John Huggins was assassinated in UCLA. Larry Hoover was crowned king in Chicago. Clarence Hoover became a West Side Crip in LA. So you got all these three. You got J. Edgar Hoover, Clarence Hoover, Larry Hoover, all in 1969. Raymond Lee Washington started the Crips where all this happened in 1969, bro. There are no coincidences. So if this man is saying that the CIA, that the Crips and Bloods is the offspring of the CIA, it's hard to disagree with him based on the scenario I just gave you.
And this coming from a guy that was there. You know what I'm saying? This is a guy that was there from the beginning of these super, I don't know if we call them gangs or organizations or groups or, these super groups, gangs from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? This guy was there, and he's saying that, you know, he thinks that the CIA has their hand in this thing the whole time. And this is not just in California. This is all over the country, though. This is in Chicago. This is in New York. This is in, you know, Detroit, Atlanta. This is all over.
Everything that took place, because here, if we'd have stayed on the trajectory of Black Power, because the power structure of the Black Power movement was the Black family. So if you got all these influential individuals that got knocked down in 1969 and got replaced with other individuals, it's hard to disagree with what he's saying. Because if we were just think, if we grew up with free lunch programs, 10-point program, Black Panther Party program for, you know, people in Black communities. I was old enough to remember when the Black Panthers used to pull up. The Black Panthers would pull up and monitor the whole situation until they either wrote you a ticket and let you go, or they gave them reason why you was being arrested. That's what we used to have in our community. We don't have that anymore. Black Panthers went down to the State House of the state of California, down there to, at that time, Ronald Reagan with their long guns. It wasn't 2 or 3 days. They changed the law. See what I'm saying? They're capable of doing whatever they want to in the instance of quote-unquote white power or white supremacy.
I'm from the Set, the god of chaos and violence who brutally murdered his own brother. Yeah, can I get all the gang members to the front, the Crips specifically? Because that wordplay is just... I need every single one of you to literally know that you are part of a social experiment. Experiment 626, my nigga. 6 + 2, forward and backwards, 88, yttrium. In my Jesus Exposed video, I literally talked about how the number 88 lined up with the element yttrium, which is used for lighting and camera lenses. You're not in a set, you're on a set. And it's time for you niggas to get off set, because you've definitely lost the plot.
Be the B, I just pulled up in the need for speed. Free the land, tell the colonizers that they need to leave. Wild Indian up in my veins, you know how we bleed. You ain't gotta lie about who we is, dog, just keep it G. We at war, we can't keep the peace. Since we at war, gotta keep the peace. Whack a cone, then I meditate. Should I need to breathe? Keep an Olmec head when we slide, dog, cause we the shit.
Like my niggas said, bitch, we the sheets. I can't keep the peace. If it pop off, then I want a piece. I'm just on release. I'm in go mode, motherfucker thief. In these streets like EB.
The owner, be the B, I just pulled up.
They don't even know Bloods and Crips started right here in Oakland. It's an offshoot of the Black Panthers. When the feds came to break up the Black Panthers, 2 of the brothers went down to LA. One went to Inglewood and started the Bloods, which meant if the police anybody on this block, we all blood, we all family, we stand together. Another one went down to Compton, started the Crips. Crips stand for Community Resistance in Progress. If you anybody in this community, the community has got a resistance in progress. Officer, you ask these little youngsters now, hey, what Crip mean? It mean Crip Cup. It mean Crip Cup. It mean Crip Cup. You playing right into the white man's stereotype of us.
To little known Black history facts. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. The Ghetto Informant Program. How the FBI used thousands of informants to infiltrate the Black community. 66 years prior to the Declaration of Independence, the Meritorious Manumission Act of 1710 was enacted in colonial Virginia. This law provided for freeing a slave for good deeds and could be granted to a slave who informed or snitched on a fellow slave who was planning a slave rebellion or to run away. The slave rebellions of Denmark Vesey and Nat Turner were thwarted by infiltrators. Almost every Black social movement since then has been infiltrated and negatively impacted by the use of informants. The Ghetto Informant Program, also known as GIP, was an intelligence...
Not to cut her wisdom, man, but she need to start replacing that slave word with prisoner of war, because shit, we was never slaves.
Gathering operation run by the Federal Bureau of Investigation from 1967 to 1973. The order for the GIP program came in from Attorney General Ramsey Clark to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover. Its official purpose was to collect information pertaining to riots and civil unrest. Through this program, the FBI used more than 7,000 people to infiltrate poor black communities in the United States. J. Edgar Hoover was convinced that race riots were on the verge of destroying communities everywhere and that they were brewing in the black urban centers. Informants, usually black males, monitored black activists including Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Huey Newton, and many others. The program was targeted at those likely to have information about ghetto happenings. The recruited informants were sent to spy on people in the black neighborhoods. These informants were listening posts, tools for blanket surveillance of a community.
You know what I just thought about? I just got a whole download about this too. I was just visioning it, right? You know how when the United States is trying to take down a certain regime or government somewhere in a foreign land, right? What do? They go in there, they infiltrate certain shit, and they start funding some type of rebellious culture. You know what I'm saying? They start funding, like they'll start taking, you know, other people and rising them into power. You know what I mean? Just to help take down their enemy, and then turn around and vilify the person who they rose into power if they don't comply with, well, you know, everything that the United States tell them to do. That's one of their tactics. That's one of their strategies. They've been used over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? By the CIA, FBI, you know, by our government. So I just pictured that's how these gangs came up into play. You know what I'm saying? Because everything was about the Black Power movement at one point in our, in our culture. It was all about Black Power and how we could rise as a people. You know what I mean? And when drugs and heroin and all that was one form of attack, but they still needed these people gone. They still needed, they needed to break them mentally, physically, and spiritually, man. And one way of breaking them is to put the gangster in power. Instead of putting the leader in power and upholding the leader, they came and they wanted to put the gangster in power, man. As long as the gangster listened to them. Then when the gangster rebels from them, that's why niggas is getting them RICO cases. That's why niggas is, you know what I'm saying? That's how they do away with the gangsters. But let's get back into this.
Or area. Informants reported on candy store owners, barbershops, certain churches, and African American bookstores. GIP operated with no oversight from courts or Congress. One of the first major projects involving the Ghetto Informant Program was Operation POCAM, the FBI's effort to monitor and disrupt the 1968 Poor People's Campaign. FBI agents posed as journalists, used wiretaps, and even recruited some of the recruiters as informants. A March 1968 memo stated the program's goal was to prevent the coalition of militant black nationalist groups, to prevent the rise of a black messiah who could unify the militant black nationalist movement, to prevent militant black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them to both the responsible community and to liberal sympathizers. It also aimed to prevent the long-range growth of militant black organizations, especially among black youth. Informants were asked to keep tabs on gang activity, to follow ex-convicts, and then warn the FBI if anything was about to go down. At least 67 informants were members of the Black Panther Party, who were tasked with spreading disinformation on the Black Panthers, as well as sending reports to the FBI. Let's take a look at a few well-documented informants. The Marcus Garvey Must Go campaign. When Marcus Garvey first arrived in the United States in 1916, he quickly found his way to many of New York's most prominent black radical activists and intellectuals, and at least briefly, Garvey enjoyed their support. But by 1920, A. Philip Randolph, W.E.B. Du Bois and other black leaders who had supported Garvey after his arrival came to believe that Garvey's program for black advancement was unsound and that Garvey himself was a fraud. Prominent black critics derided Garvey's proposed solutions for the problems of African Americans. They believed that his plans for black progress, including his Black Star Line and the establishment of a Pan-African empire, were unrealistic and ill-advised. They considered the Universal Negro Improvement Association's grandiose titles and military regalia to be preposterous, and they thought Garvey to be little more than a self-aggrandizing buffoon. Many accused Garvey of squandering the hard-earned money of his hard-working poor supporters. Black opposition to Garvey coalesced into what came to be known as the Garvey Must Go campaign. Supporters of the campaign, known collectively as the Friends of Negro Freedom, intended to unmask Garvey as a fraud before his black supporters. They also appealed to the federal government to step up investigations of irregularities in the Black Star Line and to look into allegations of violence on the part of Garvey's inner circle.
And another thing that we got to remember, right, when we talk about the system, when we talking about the system, we not just talking about white people. We talking about people of color too that has the same agenda as people that don't have color, like certain white. You know, white people are the face of this system, but they're not the people that's running it. That's a fact. They're not the people that's running it. They're the face of it though. So let's keep that in mind.
James Wormley Jones was a black police officer and the first black FBI special agent who went undercover to take Garvey down. His information was the nail in the coffin J. Edgar Hoover needed to arrest Garvey. On November 19, 1919, Jones was appointed as the first African-American special agent by A. Bruce Beluska, who at that time was the director of the Bureau of Investigation.
No, that's a lie. Let me tell you how that just got debunked. How was he the first African American anything in the early 1900s when that term African American didn't come around to the 1980s, like 1983, I think, like that. The term African American came around from Jesse Jackson or whatever.
Soon after he joined the organization, the name was changed to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and was headed by newly appointed Director J. Edgar Hoover. Jones's first undercover assignment came in 1921 when he infiltrated the African Blood Brotherhood, a secret armed African-American black liberation group headquartered in New York City. While working with the FBI in New York City on the African Blood Brotherhood, Hoover assigned Jones to infiltrate Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association. The information Jones provided to the Bureau would help lead to the arrest of Garvey on mail fraud charges. Garvey was in prison for 3 years and then deported from the United States.
His last name Jones, man. He might be a relative of me, man.
Never to return. Richard Aoki gave the Black Panther Party some of its first firearms and weapons training, which preceded fatal shootouts with Oakland police in the turbulent 1960s. Aoki was also an undercover FBI informer. Unbeknownst to his fellow Panther activists, Aoki served as an FBI intelligence informant, covertly filing reports on a wide range of Bay Area political groups. He committed suicide in 2009 after a long illness. Photographer Ernest Withers captured some of the most iconic images of the Civil Rights era. But Withers was also an FBI informant, funneling information to the Bureau about the Civil Rights Movement and its leaders. Withers documented the Civil Rights Movement from the beginning, covering pivotal moments such as the murder of Emmett Till in 1955 and the Little Rock School integration showdown. He came to be so familiar and so trusted to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other leaders that he sat in on their strategy meetings. He spied on not only black civil rights activists, but on those who supported the Memphis-wide strike by sanitation workers and political candidates, recording their car license plate numbers for the FBI. Withers also helped the Bureau to break a militant black group called the Invaders, which had a following in Memphis in the late 1960s. He was the perfect source for them due to having the ability to go everywhere with an obvious professional purpose. William O'Neill became infamous in 1973 when his role in the 1969 raid in which Black Panther leaders Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were murdered was revealed. O'Neill was a Panther insider to the point where he was in charge of security for Hampton and possessed the keys to Panther headquarters and safe houses. At the same time, he was serving as an informant for the FBI. Among the information O'Neill fed his FBI contact was...
They doing this shit in the gangs too, man. Like a lot of y'all thinking that, you know, these same rules don't apply to y'all just because y'all ain't Black Panthers or no Black Power shit and nothing like that. These same rules apply to y'all, man. They infiltrating all these organizations and they sending motherfuckers to prison, man. This shit is a war. Y'all don't even know that y'all in. It's an ongoing war too.
The floor plan of Hampton's West Side apartment that was used to plan the fatal raid where they were shot and killed. O'Neill committed suicide in 1990 by jumping into traffic on a Chicago expressway. The Ghetto Informant Program was terminated in July 1973. Informants were either reclassified or discontinued. FBI surveillance in the style of the Ghetto Informant Program has continued through this present day as COINTELPRO.
Most people think the Bloods and Crips just popped up out of nowhere. The truth? It's a story of a power vacuum that changed Los Angeles forever. By 1970, the Black Panther Party in LA was finished. Between FBI interference, specifically COINTELPRO, and deadly internal beefs, the community's protection was gone. The youth were left vulnerable, and in that silence, a new kind of power moved in. Enter the Crips. Originally, the Cibola Avenue Cribs, Raymond Washington and Tookie.
The Blood and Crip organizations in LA and Folk People Nation in Chicago began as groups intended to bring unity and stability to their communities. The three primary purposes of these groups were: 1, to secure resources; 2, protect the community; 3, reinvest in the community. These groups were never intended to contribute to black on black violence. They served as rites of passage programs for young people in the community who may not have a stable home environment. The oral tradition held a strong role in helping to shape these youngsters into productive men and women. No one was able to advance within the organization without the passage and the history written by the unwritten rules. The original acronyms for Crips, Community Revolution and Pride.
When Crippin' and Blood started, I'm a baby of that. And it was babies who started it. You know what I mean? Like, this Crippin' thing wasn't started by no dudes who was 40, 50 years old who had an idea on how this thing should go. And me growing up in LA and going back and forth to Chicago, I seen a little bit of how they had way more structure than the Crips and Bloods had. They had way more structure, daily laws, they had daily rules, they had a structure of captains and lieutenants. So when you was dealing with the GDs and the gangsters, it was structure there. When it came to us in the Crips and Bloods, remember, we were started by babies.
You gotta start noticing things. The government created gang violence in our community. The Bloods and the Crips were never even supposed to be fighting. The system creates opposition by constantly putting the colors blue and red against each other. Yankees, Red Sox, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, Harvard, Yale, North Carolina, Duke. In-state rivalry, Crip on Crip, blue on blue, Civil War. North Carolina, one of the main states the Civil War was fought. Open your eyes, it's in the corporations. Walmart, Target, Coke, Pepsi. Oh, y'all think I'm joking, y'all think I'm playing around. What color is the Democrats, what color is the Republicans? Water not even blue, and fire not even red. That's just what they want you to think. My eyes is open. Fire is orange, and water is clear. That look like blue to you? You gotta start.
See this face that I'm about to drop a truth bomb. Don't y'all know that NWA was not NWA? Let me show y'all what they was actually called before NWA. They were called the CIA. CIA? Why did they change it? Yeah, it was supposed to be crew in action. Something sounds a little strange. As we already know that the music industry, rap, is tied to the CIA. Get it? Did not.
and Crips finally come together. Unified by rioting against the police, they declare a tentative truce.
We, as the Bloods and the Crips, have joined together without any problem from the police, the media, and the Bloods and Crips as one. We'll be able to give back to the parks, recreation, and the rest of the community to live without, so the community can live without fear.
The people of South Central can walk the streets again.
Peace Treaty changed the quality of life in the neighborhood. Grandmothers began to walk the streets again. Kids played in the parks again. Many men became fathers to their children for the first time. You know, that was gang of Peace Treaty babies.
As gangbangers in South Central realize the futility of their lifestyle, America glamorizes gangster culture in film, fashion, and music.
Nobody wanted to be from Compton or from Watts, you know. Nowadays, man, you got white kids with their hats rocked to the side. Everybody want to be from the hood because it's been romanticized, you know, as if there's this freedom that exists in the hood that really don't exist.
Do you know that the Bloods and the Crips in California, like the gangs or street organizations here in Chicago, they all started off with honorable, noble cause. Enemy, see, that's why he's called a snake. And he slivers his way in. And he's always looking to redirect noble goals, honorable goals, and corrupt the organization. The Bloods were formed in the 70s to fight oppression. And the Crips were initially a neighborhood protection group. Now under Reagan, this is very important, he was the architect of the Comprehensive Crime Control Act of 1984. Y'all remember? And he signed the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. And this act increased federal funding for law enforcement and established mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses. Who would be the victim of mandatory minimum sentences?
Shit, I know I was one. I was definitely one.
For drug offenses. Us.
That's a fact.
The incarceration rate exploded from Reagan's administration to today. And we'll get to your beloved Clinton, that you said was the first black president because he played a saxophone. But he did more harm to the black community and incarcerated more blacks in his administration than any other president. Don't ever forget the 13th Amendment. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or in any place subject to their jurisdiction. So, in other words, you commit a crime, you back. You back on the plantation. And the new plantation is what? The prison industrial complex. We're going into the war now. Because that out of that crime bill that Reagan and the
Clinton
Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986 set the ground for the 1994 crime bill. It was known as the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, and it was signed into law by President Bill Clinton. The law contained powerful funding incentives that ensnared more Americans in the ever-widening net of the criminal justice system. The law was the largest crime bill in the history of the United States and was meant to make a statement. It encouraged practices on the ground, including by prosecutors and police, to lock up more people for longer periods of time. When we went to D.C. in '95, this crime bill had already been put into law, and there were harsher sentences for those possessing crack cocaine than those who snort powder cocaine. Why? Because we poor and can't afford the good stuff. So crack cocaine users and sellers was gonna be locked up in prison, but those that snorted powder cocaine would get off. Do you know who was the architect of the crime bill of 1994? He was the senator at that time.
Joe Biden.
Joseph
Sleepy Joe
Biden.
Now let the whole black.
Hey yo, what up, man? It's French Dose, and we about to talk about it. I do this for educational and entertainment purposes only, people. I'm not here to disrespect none of these guys, man. But Ice Cube, you got some explaining to do. And I was the one that called it, right? Because you wanna claim that you're against the gatekeepers. You wanna expose them now, but this is what I was talking about. You can't just come out of nowhere just because things don't go your way. Because you always sign that signature, right? That's never gonna go nowhere. You decided today to do this. Former CIA agent admits agency created gangster rap to fill private prisons. And you knew all about this. You knew that was in your contracts. Why are rappers today exposing that? People like Meek Mill, Rick Ross talking about it, even Future talking about that this is what they pay me to do. They want me to specifically talk about these things. Well, who is we, right? And who are the people? Who is they, right? You know who they are because you were a part of it. You don't sit here and act like you wasn't a part of that, man. But now things ain't going your way with your basketball program that you want, right? There's a bunch of full of sellout stuff going on over there with that. It ain't working in your favor. Now you want to talk. We'll talk about this. Explain this. Let's get into it. Dr. Dre, we need answers from you, bro.
That's crazy.
People like Snoop Dogg, what about you, bro? The guy that knew to get away from from Vegas before Pac got hit. You was out there. You made sure everybody that was a part of the Dog Pound left. Nobody else. And you happen to be a Crip as well. I do this for educational purposes only, people. Let's talk about it. All right, James.
So what y'all think, man? Y'all think this got some merit to it? I think it do. Of course, NWA, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and all them, man, they was part of that whole CIA thing and fucking us up with the music. But I don't think they knew what they signed up for, man. I think they just thought that, they was young black men with an opportunity and was getting paid for their talents. But, other people had other plans, man. The shit was deeper than what they thought. That's what I genuinely believe. As time go on and you start seeing the wicked shit and how things going, and you still in it and you adapting to the environment and doing what you got to do to sustain and thrive, then that's something totally different. You know what I'm saying? So of course they may have to do some things to sustain their status and for them and their family. What y'all think, man? Y'all jump in the comment section with this, man. Like, share, subscribe, let's vibe. And there's some news y'all could use, man. You already know what it is. It's Geeka News Network. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Fetty Lotto, GNN. We out of here.
To stand up tall.
The name of all the real niggas.
Right. I want you to speak up clear and loud.
Respectfully, the most honorable YB Double M. Lotto.
Brown baby.
Gunshots in the dark at me. Discrimination cause my head nappy. Call me a thug cause I'm tatted up. Now your actions justify when them slugs clap me. I think it's a war on the black race. Why every criminal they show got a black face, and every hero they show gotta be pale? Is it me or y'all got the wrong niggas for crimes against humanity? Of course we out here acting up. They slaughtered our elders and told the babies they from Africa. We screaming Black Lives Matter, they do. Well nigga, Black Lives Matter to who? Cause they don't matter to you. You know the owner of that movement, a Jew, and Nick Cannon got canceled just for speaking the truth. True, y'all think money bring power, it don't. Unity bring power, then we take what they owe. Y'all think money bring power, it don't. Unity bring power, then we take what they owe.